Wi-Fi password.
Yes,
Just so predictable.
No, that's in this. That's for us, yes.
I'm just so predictable.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Board of Education to order, please. I need a motion for us to enter closed session for the reasons that are so stated on the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we will move into closed session and be back shortly. Thank you. I'd like to call this meeting to order tonight. You got it, Ron? We're good. Okay, thank you. I'd like to call the meeting to order tonight for the Orange County Board of Education, September 9th, 2024. I will start with the reading of the public charge. Orange County Board of Education pledges to its citizens to conduct its business in a courteous and productive manner, showing respect for fellow board members, staff, and citizens. The board asks its citizens to conduct themselves with the same courtesy toward both school personnel and each other. A moment of silence will be observed before each meeting. In addition to the moment of silence, the board will recite the Pledge of Allegiance. The board asks you to check your cell phones and other electronic devices to be certain that they are either turned off or on vibrate to avoid interruption of the meeting. So we will start by having our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And we're going to observe our moment of silence right now, and I'm going to ask that in your moment of silence, if you could give some thoughts to our neighbors to the south in Winder, Georgia, and the horrific events that they went through last week in their school district. I just would think that they need all the support that they can get right now. Nobody should have to go through that. And I just ask that if you can, to give some thought to that school district tonight. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. And welcome to everyone tonight. I'm sorry that we were late coming out of closed session, but we are going to start with recognitions, and Mr. Smith is already at the podium. So, Mr. Smith, we turn it over to you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Chair Purcell, Vice Chair Richmond, members of the board, Dr. Jones, and everyone here this evening. Thanks for having us. We're just going to very quickly take you through, as promised in the information from your abstracts for tonight's meeting. We said we would give you a quick review of the start of school, and I think one of the best ways to do that is simply through showing you some photos. We had a wonderful time at the Stars of Education Conference back in the middle of August. It was a great way for we had several hundred people at Orange High School, all gathered around basically to celebrate a day of education by our educators, for our educators. That was a wonderful way to get everyone truly organized around the principle of walking into school with joy and many of the things that we look forward to at the beginning of each school year. Again, we had two wonderful posts to help us kick off the first couple days of school. And again, this is the first 2 days of school in the traditional calendar, because we always celebrate that Hillsborough has been going for several weeks before we even get started. And I know that that has a lot of meaning for us as we talk about things like Infinite Campus and even rolling out our new website, which will come out later in tonight's meeting. So the first 2 days of school were filled with beautiful sights. I think that we just enjoyed getting photos from a lot of our different schools, as well as just getting to see our teachers and our students in action. So we wanted to use this opportunity to encourage everyone to check out our Facebook page, our Twitter feed, and our Instagram to catch up with what's been happening in our schools since we came back. The second recognition on tonight's agenda is to make everybody aware that we will be recognizing Patriot Day and a National Day of Remembrance on September 11th. Obviously, for a lot of our students and a growing number of people who are coming to work in our schools, being educated and remembering this is something brand new and might not even be something that they lived through. So we do encourage you to keep an eye on our social media feeds and to stay tuned with what's going on in our schools. We will be recognizing that later this week among the many other things happening in our schools. And that's all we have for the first two recognitions tonight.
Okay, thank you very much. Attendance Awareness Month. Dr. Dreyer, are you going to discuss that, I hope? Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the school board, our superintendent, Dr. Jones, and fellow community members. Today, I'd like to address a critical issue that affects the very foundation of our students' success, school attendance. As we observe Attendance Awareness Month this September, an annual nationally recognized event, the 2024 national theme is Be Present, Be Powerful. This powerful message reminds us of the vital connection between showing up for school and realizing our students' hopes and dreams. Consider this. When a student misses just 2 days of school per month, it adds up to 20 days over a year. By graduation, that's equivalent to losing an entire year of education. The impact is even more significant for those missing 4 or more days per month. Research clearly shows that chronic absenteeism, missing 10% or more of a school year, has far-reaching consequences. It can hinder reading proficiency by 3rd grade, it can affect achievement in middle school, and it decreases the likelihood of high school graduation. Every day a student attends school is an opportunity to learn, build relationships, and access crucial academic, social, and emotional support. Regular attendance, starting as early as pre-K and kindergarten, sets the stage for academic success and personal growth. While we recognize that occasional absences for genuine needs are understandable, we must work together to ensure that our students are present and engaged as much as possible. This isn't just about academic performance. It's about equipping our young people with the skills, knowledge, and experiences they need to thrive in life. As we move forward this Attendance Awareness Month and throughout the year, OCS continues to commit to raising awareness about the importance of regular attendance, supporting families in overcoming barriers to attendance, celebrating improvements in attendance rates, and continually educating our community about this crucial issue. Remember, be present, be powerful isn't just a theme for September. It's a call to action for the entire school year. By ensuring our students show up every day, even when it's challenging, we're investing in their future and the future of the Orange County community. Thank you for your attention and your commitment to our students' success and regular attendance. Together, we can make a difference, one school day at a time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dreyer.
And for your last recognition this evening, Mrs. Braxton is going to introduce some really exciting news from our CTE program.
Okay. Welcome, Ms. Braxton.
Good evening. Good to see each one of you tonight. Good evening, Superintendent and the community. Tonight, I have with me Mr. Heath Wren, who's supposed to be standing right here beside me. We practiced. And 2 students right here. So Mr. Wren is the teacher, one of 4 teachers in Family and Consumer Sciences. Family and Consumer Sciences is one of our 7 CTE programs that we have here in Orange County Schools. And Mr. Wren is going to talk to you tonight about Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America, which is a CTSO, that stands for a Career Technical Student Organization. It is co-curricular, so it is work that happens inside the classroom, but then also outside the classroom at district, state, and national events. It is interrelated, and we're really excited that Mr. Wren has an FCCLA chapter. So I'll turn it over to him.
All right, I'm not going to go into great detail about FCCLA. I really appreciate you guys having us back here this year to recognize our students. So thank you for having us here tonight. I'd like to thank the sponsors for helping us financially to make our journey to Seattle. That's where we took the kids to compete in nationals. I'd also like to thank those individuals that helped us through the whole planning process. That's the OCS staff, our parents, my wife and sons who also went on the trip with us, We're very proud of Kayla and Sophia for just having the courage to compete in their individual accomplishments. Kayla and Sophia will share a little bit about their journey, but I'd like to say thanks again for having us here to celebrate. Kayla and Sophia, they work really, really hard.
So to start off, I'd like to thank everybody for being here today and supporting us through this journey. My parents, my family, coach's family, we wouldn't be here without their support. Competing was stressful, of course, and I've never competed in anything before that, but it was worth it. I got so many opportunities and made a lot of connections. This experience overall taught me how to work under pressure and still succeed, all while being out of my comfort zone. And overall, it made me stronger as a person and as a culinary student. Coach Ren pushed me past my limits because he knew that there was something in me that could do it, even though I doubted myself many times. So I'd like to thank Coach Ren personally for believing in me and having patience with me and his dedication to me and my future. And I'd like to thank everyone here and at Orange High for having our backs and making us feel proud to be a Panther and an Orange County student.
I would like to thank Coach Wren and all of his higher-ups because it wouldn't be possible, as Sophia said. And I would like to thank him because he made all of it possible, because I wouldn't have had the courage to do it unless he asked me to do it. And it's pushed me to continue in the culinary and go to community college for it. So thank you very much.
Very good.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. And we are very proud of our young ladies who went to Seattle, and we thank Coach Wren for arranging all of that and making that possible. So congratulations to you, and I'm sure you've got a bright future ahead, both of you. Thank you. And thank you, Ms. Braxton, for helping with these programs in CTE. Okay, right now, we need a motion to adopt our agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt? Oh, excuse me, I was thinking about the consent. We will adopt the agenda with one change. We would like to pull the gender support guidelines from first read and bring it back to our next meeting. So the adoption will be with that one change.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you all very much. All right, public comments. Mr. Richmond, do we have anybody making public comments tonight?
We do. We will now hear public comments. Speakers will be called in the order in which they signed up. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. Yielding time to other speakers is not permitted. If a speaker has written materials they would like to share, please hand them to our board clerk, Franklin McCune, and he will distribute them to the board. The purpose of public comment is for the board to hear from members of the public, not to engage in back and forth discussions. Per our policy, board members will not respond to speakers during the public comment session. The board greatly values public feedback and welcomes all comments regardless of viewpoint. However, please be reminded that children are often present at these meetings and that our public comment policy prohibits profanity, vulgarity, and personal abuse of any person. We ask that all comments be civil, respectful, and free of personal attacks. Any person who violates our public comment period or otherwise exceeds the bounds of order and decorum will be given a warning. Continued violations may result in the speaker being ruled out of order, at which point we will move on to the next speaker. Our first speaker tonight is Gretchen Smith.
Good evening, Board and Superintendent Jones. In July, many of us witnessed newly elected and incumbent board members raise their hands and swear an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States and NC state laws. Unfortunately, reading through the Code of Conduct recently before the school started, I found policies still in defiance of the state law. The importance of an elected official keeping their oath of office can't be overstated. One, trust and integrity. When elected officials honor their oaths, they foster trust among constituents. And this trust encourages civic engagement and public confidence in government institutions. By keeping their oaths, they reinforce the principle of the rule of law, which ensures that all individuals and institutions, including the government, are accountable to the law. Elected officials serve the public, and by keeping their oath, they demonstrate a commitment to represent the interests of their constituents rather than personal or political interests. When elected officials honor their oaths, they model civic responsibility and encourage the same behavior from their constituents. When officials act in accordance with their oaths, the government is viewed as legitimate and representative of the people's will. Those seated at the NC State Legislature were selected by the voice of the people by a system modeled after the Great Compromise, which addresses both equal representation and representative representation of the people across the state. The governing body in SB 49, it states, "And public school units shall not adopt procedures or forms that do any of the following. 1, prohibit school employees from notifying a parent about his or her child's mental, emotional, or physical health or well-being, or change in related services or monitoring. 2, encourage or have the effect of encouraging a child to withhold from that child's parent information about his or her mental, emotional, or physical health or well-being, or a change in related services or monitoring." A portion of the teacher attrition the district has experienced in the last 3 years is due to the procedures that have been adopted in schools under the current gender policy, which is still in conflict with NC law. An autistic child was influenced at school by friends in the TQ club to believe something was wrong with their body, that they were born in the wrong body. And further deception ensued when the child was led to believe they could biologically change themselves and start with a social transition. When an IEP meeting was scheduled for the student, teachers and staff who were called to the meeting for that student were told to use the child's actual name and refer to them the way their unknowing parents referred to them, inserting themselves between the sacred God-given relationship of a child and their parents. These practices have driven multiple teachers from this district, like the one who opted out of that meeting, where they were asked to lie to the parents' faces about their child, which was followed by their resignation. We at Moms for Liberty are working to make parents aware of policies this body has created that attack the family. Trust was cited as the #1 issue plaguing the school district when interim Superintendent Merrill took the helm. Aligning policies with state law will be a major positive step toward public trust in the school district. Good evening. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Polly Dornetti.
Hi there, I'm Polly Dornetti, a parent. I'm an 8th grader at Gravely Hill, and this is going to sound a bit like Groundhog Day because for the 3rd year, I am here to talk about the same ongoing problem that we have at Gravely, staffing and AIG support. First, let me start with some positives about Gravely. Over the past year, we have witnessed remarkable transformation in the school atmosphere, student behavior, largely attributed to the stable leadership, dedication, and expertise of our staff, faculty, and administration headed by Ms. Tanisha Williamson. Our school has made amazing strides from an F to a D, and now a C, all while continuing to have staffing challenges. The current vacancy at Gravely Hill Middle School is a 50% ELA position. I believe increasing the allotment for Gravely Hill so that this position could be advertised as a full-time position will increase the likelihood of filling the position. Once again, it is our AIG teacher filling this vacancy leaving our AIG students without the support that they need for the third year in a row. The importance of providing adequate support to our AIG students cannot be overstated. These students possess unique talents and abilities that require specialized attention and enrichment opportunities to reach their full potential. Without proper support, they risk becoming disengaged or falling behind in their studies and can lead to absenteeism that we just heard about earlier. The improvements we have seen at Gravely over the past 2 years have demonstrated the positive impact that dedicated educators can have on our students. However, even the most skilled teachers require sufficient resources and support to effectively nurture the talents of our AIG students. Filling the ELA vacancy will allow our AIG teacher, Mrs. Neal, to be released from these ELA duties and resume her support of our AIG students. Please elevate the vacancy at Gravely Hill to a full-time position. I'm confident that Ms. Williamson will be able to leverage this additional support to create an even larger positive impact at our school. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that all public comment?
That concludes public comment.
Okay. All right. Board comments. Who would like to start? Ms. Hauser, you want to start with you?
Sure. I'd like to start first with a very big congratulations and thank you to every teacher, every bus driver, every cafeteria worker, every custodian, administrator, student, and family member who helped to create what is being heralded as the smoothest opening in Orange County schools in recent memory. I enjoyed joining some of you in the car rider line and visiting with others, and I just thank you because doing that, you realize that you're showing up every single day doing that. It was great, so thank you for that. Second, last night I attended a lecture on anti-Semitism by the Anti-Defamation League. And I was sad to learn that anti-Semitic incidents in K-12 schools in North Carolina has increased by 280% in the last year. Parents in Chapel Hill and Durham are actively organizing around this, and some of our parents have come to me with concerns. As school gets started, it's a great time to remind everyone that our board is fully committed to safe, inclusive schools, and we have strong policies to protect every student and employee from bullying and harassment and from discrimination based on race, religion, ethnicity, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, and thank goodness, age. Questions are being raised in other districts around whether awareness and sensitivity to awareness and sensitivity needs to be raised to anti-Semitism and whether additional materials are needed in our equity training. I'm going to leave that to Dr. Jones and Dr. Lanier. Of course, if your student is having a problem, please reach out to your teachers, counselors, and school administrators for help. And I just, thank you.
Mr. Atherton?
All right, I too would like to thank all the staff and personnel in Orange County Schools, and also enjoyed opening of schools and seeing all the students excited to be back, all the anticipations and excitement, so thank you, everyone. One thing that I'd like to bring up, and I normally don't do this, but I will, is I just want to remind all of our staff that we do have ombuds. And Mr. McCune here, who is our ombuds for the district, it's a new position, and I encourage anyone in our district that has questions or concerns that they leverage that. And I'm excited to see him in that position, and also the availability to our staff for that service. That's all.
Mr. Richmond?
Yes, ma'am. I just want to say welcome back to our traditional schools. And I've been able to visit quite a few, and I've seen a lot of happy faces this school year. So welcome back to everyone, and thank all of our staff members for everything that you do.
Okay. Ms. Dole?
Thank you, and good evening, and I appreciate your moment of silence reflection, Chair Purcell. I was pleased to be able to visit New Hope Elementary on their first day and look forward to coming back there for the Family Academy this Thursday with STEAM Night. And I appreciate all of those planned family academies that are on the updated calendar, really easy to find. So I'm looking forward to that this coming week, as well as we're about to start off Hispanic Heritage Month, and also our Color of Education. Dr. Hamlet from Chapel Hill is going to be the keynote at that in a couple weeks. So lots of things to be excited about in the coming weeks.
Ms. Padilla?
Yes, thank you. I want to thank everyone for this great new start of year. I made some notes, so gonna bear with me. So I visited all schools. I went and walked around hallways. I listened to laughter, and I noticed a lot of the opened eyes wide with curiosity from our student community. I got to see some classes, and I really enjoyed doing the car line and seeing all the happy faces. I also attended a Fairview Community Walk where students from our community showed their plan as to what they want to see in their community. And for example, they want to have a free library to be able to exchange books like other communities have. Lastly, today, with other community leaders, we went to the legislature. We spoke against the voucher bill in HB 10. The Senate voted 27-17. This combined bill affects our public schools, our immigrant community. $248 million was for the voucher expansion, which we would lose for our public schools. HB 10 is a harmful bill that impacts our immigrant community and student community. As challenging as this is going to be, and devastating as it might be to many of our families and student community, I have faith in our staff. I trust that our district leadership, educators, counselors, and social workers will do everything they can to provide support to impacted families or potential impacted families. As a result of this unfortunate legislation, I know that they will do the best they can to mitigate the harm, despite the fact this particular legislation is very damaging and has the potential to do great harm. I am just grateful for our staff. I also know that these are the kind of educators, district leaders who will take steps to ensure that a plan is in place or that something is being done to prevent unnecessary harm or trauma and support students throughout this much as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. I also would like to thank everyone for a very smooth opening of this school year. I have visited 10 schools. I still have 2 to go. And I have seen lots of happy children and lots of happy teachers and happy principals, which I'm always happy to see. So I thank everyone, from the bus garage to the cafeteria ladies to everybody who has pulled everyone together and got us rolling this year. We're off to a great start, and I hope that that continues for the rest of the school year. I see no reason why it shouldn't. And so a big thank you to everyone and to Dr. Jones and her staff for all that they have done on her cabinet to help get this year started off great. So, Dr. Jones, do you have any comments tonight?
Yes, Madam Chair, I do. Good evening, everyone. We did have a successful opening to the traditional school year. I want to extend my gratitude to our dedicated staff that worked tirelessly over the summer to ensure we were ready for our teachers and our students to return. I was able to visit every school during our opening week. I must say that there is an undeniable energy in the air that signifies new beginnings and opportunities for our staff and our students, and that just gets all of us excited, I think. Lots of happy faces from staff and students as well. With that, I'm excited about this school year as we work toward perfecting current best practices and authentically engaging with our community.
Throughout this school year, our team will present updates to our district strategic plan, which sunsets in 2026. Our goal is to review our current data, processes, and procedures to determine where we are as a district and what we hope to accomplish over the next 2 years. Because there has been a great deal of transition in OCS, we hope this helps to bring the stability and direction our students and staff need to be successful. Tonight, our team will discuss Priority 1 of our strategic plan, Teaching Tomorrow's Leaders, where we focus on increasing grade level proficiency, growth, and graduating our students. And I would make a few comments, but I'm not going to steal their shine. I'm going to let them present their presentation, but I will say that I'm excited for them to share with you the progress that has been made, the opportunities for improvement, and our priorities for this school year. Thank you for all of your support, and that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Dr. Jones. Okay, we need to approve our consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, it is approved. And we will now move into our action item, the 2024 State Accountability Results. Strategic Plan Priority 1 update with Dr. Lanier and Dr. Pack. Welcome.
Can you all hear me okay? Yes. Okay. So before I get started, I would just like to thank 2 members of my team for assisting me with putting this presentation together. So April Starbuck and Kumar Sathi, who was actually here with us. So we put in lots of steps going up and down the Welcome Center and running back and forth to the computer. So I just wanted to make sure that I gave them a shout out and a thank you for their assistance. So good evening. Throughout tonight's presentation, Dr. Pack and I will report the 2024 state accountability results and provide a strategic plan update for Priority 1. As a reminder from our last presentation, in an effort to provide clarity when speaking about the plan's components, we have retitled the overarching goals as priorities. I will start with an overview of the ESSA accountability model. According to the 2023-24 accountability brief, North Carolina students in grades 3 through 8 and in certain high school grades take assessments each year that measure achievement in reading, mathematics, and science. Student performance on these end of grade and end of course assessments are reported as 4 academic achievement levels: level 5, level 4, level 3, and not proficient. Achievement level 3 identifies students who have a significant understanding of grade level knowledge and skills in the tested content areas to move on to the next grade, but who may need additional support to be on track for career and college readiness. Achievement levels 4 and 5 indicate students are on track to be career and college ready by the time they graduate from high school. Academic growth is an indication of the progress that students in the school made over the previous year. The standard is roughly equivalent to a year's worth of expected growth for a year of instruction. Growth is reported for each school as exceeded growth expectations, something that I am familiar with as a principal, met growth expectations, or did not meet growth expectations as measured by EVOS, a statistical tool North Carolina uses to measure student growth when common assessments are administered. To ensure that all students are included in the academic assessment accountability measures, schools are held accountable for testing at least 95% of eligible students. The participation requirements applies to groups of students of 30 or more. School achievement counts for 80% of the school performance grade, while growth only counts for 20%. Since 2013-14, student performance data have been used to assign letter grades to North Carolina public schools as required by North Carolina General Statute 115C 8315. The grades are based on each school's achievement score, weight of 80%, as I just explained, and each school's academic growth, again, weight of 20%. The total school performance score is converted to a 100-point scale and then used to determine a school performance grade of A, B, C, D, or F. The final grade is based on a 15-point scale, so an A is 85 to 100, a B is 70 to 84, a C is 55 to 69, a D is 40 to 54, and an F is less than 40. The indicators for elementary school and middle schools differ from the indicators from high schools as presented in the chart. I will start with K-8 indicators. Tested grades, statewide accountability tests are administered in grades 3 through 8 only. For students in grades K2, special age-appropriate assessments are used to chart students' academic progress and are not included in the accountability model. End-of-grade tests, assessments in reading and math in grades 3 through 8, Math 1 end-of-course test and for some students in middle school, and science assessments in grades 5 and 8 are counted for academic growth and performance. NC Extend 1 is an alternative assessment for students with disabilities instructed on the NC Extend content standards and is included in performance only but not in growth. English language learners, students who are classified as English learners, take an English language attainment assessment, which is included in the accountability model for students in grades 3 through 8. This accounts for 80% of the letter grade, with the remaining 20% being EVOS growth in ELA, math, and science. High school indicators, end-of-course tests. Their end-of-course tests for students' performance on 4 end-of-course assessments, Math 1, Math 3, English 2, and Biology is counted for performance. Math 1, Math 3, and English 2 are counted for growth. NC Extend 1 is an alternative assessment, again, for students with disabilities instructed on the NC Extend content standards and is listed and included in performance only, but not for growth. Graduation rates, the percentage of students who graduate with their cohort in 4 years or less. Again, English language learners, we talked about that. Math course rigor, the percentage of grade 12 students taking and passing NC Math 3. The ACT and ACT work keys, the percentage of 12th grade students who meet the benchmarks on the ACT or ACT work keys. For the ACT, the benchmark is a score of 19 as set by the UNC Board of Governors. For ACT work keys, the benchmark is a score that qualifies for a silver certificate or higher. Again, this counts for 80% of the letter grade, with the remaining 20% being EVOS growth in ELA, math, and science. Once all of that is determined, the school performance grade is used to determine comprehensive support and improvement, CSI, and targeted support and improvement schools, as well as schools designated as low performing. We will now transition to our district's accountability results. So let's begin with our school performance grades. So the next 2 slides, you will see a progression of academic years beginning with school year 2017-18 through 23-24. 2017 through 2019 will only show a total of 12 schools due to Partnership Academy. 2019-2020 was a pandemic year and there was no state accountability testing that year. For the past 2 years, as you will see in the next slide, OCS has had no F schools, and currently we have reduced the number of D schools from 5 to 3 and have increased our number of C schools from 5 to 7. Similar to the previous 2 slides, the next pair of slides will provide information regarding schools either meeting, exceeding, or not meeting growth. To provide context, a school is designated as having met growth if their EVOS growth index is between a -2 and a +2. A school is designated to have not met growth if their EVOS growth index is below a -2, and a school is designated as having exceeded growth if their EVOS growth index is greater than 2. Again, I will point out that 2017 and 2019, they will only show 12 schools due to Partnership Academy. 2019-2020, again, was the pandemic year and there was no state accountability testing. So as you can see, when comparing the past 2 academic years, we have increased the amount of schools meeting and exceeding growth while reducing the amount of schools that did not meet growth. Additionally, OCS's percentage of schools meeting and exceeding growth compared to our surrounding districts in the region is the highest. I'll just take a pause. We could take that in with Orange County schools being 92.3%. That is a celebration. We will now move on to overall grade level proficiency. It is safe to say that all school districts took a hit during the pandemic, and the result of that is evident in 2020-2021 data highlighted in yellow. However, OCS has seen an increase in grade level proficiency, Math 1, Math 3, English 2, Math in grades 3 through 8, and English in grades 3 through 8. You will also notice that gains were made when we look at the proficiency of our various subgroups, which is the next slide here. I'm going to move fairly quickly through the next slides while highlighting both areas for growth and subject-specific overall proficiency. Reading proficiency results. 3.8 reading proficiency was 49.9, up 1.6% from the previous school year. The area for growth is 5th grade and also 6th grade, and let me explain. So 5th grade, we see the results here, but if we start looking at it from the standpoint of a cohort, those students are now in the 6th grade, so that also becomes an area and a grade level of focus for us as well. The same can be said for 3.8 math. Proficiency was 58.1, up 2.9% from the previous school year. The area of growth, again, 5th grade, and then looking at the cohort, we're going from 5th grade to 6th grade, so 6th grade also becomes a grade level of an area of growth for us as well. Math 3, so if we start looking at our high school end of course proficiency results, Math 3, the proficiency was 67%, up 14.6%. Math 1 proficiency in grades 9-12 was 34.2%, slightly down by 0.1%. English 2, the proficiency was 63%, up 3.3%. Biology, proficiency was 54.9%, up 0.6%. And science in grades 5 through 8. Proficiency was 63.3%, down 1.9%. And then if we break that down by 5th grade and 8th grade, the two grades that are actually tested for science, 5th grade science proficiency was 58.2, down 3.7. And 8th grade science proficiency was 68.3, up 0.1%. Next, we will discuss OCS's English language learner progress. The Every Student Succeeds Act requires each state to provide an annual assessment of English language proficiency to all students identified as English language learners. In the state of North Carolina, the annual assessment is the world-class instructional design and assessment access for ELLs. Under ESSA, EL progress must be measured and reported for all ELs in grades K through 12. As a reminder, EL progress makes up a portion of what counts within the 80% of the school performance grade. As a whole, OCS has made gains from the 21-22 school year. The next two slides will focus on high school, college and career readiness, and cohort graduation rates. And to begin, I'd like to review the definitions of some of our key SPG indicators. So again, graduation rates, the percentage of students who graduate with their cohort in 4 years or less. English language learners, students who are classified as English language learners take an English language attainment assessment, which is included in the accountability model for students in grades 10. Math course rigor, the percentage of grade 12 students taking and passing the NC Math 3 course, and then again, ACT and ACT work keys. While our math course rigor has been consistently high, we have work to do in some other areas. The same can be said about our subgroup cohort graduation rate. So if we take a look at that, our Black students are up 0.1%, and our students with disabilities are up 1.6%. Moving on to the next slide, low-performing schools. So per North Carolina statute, school performance grades and EVOS growth data are used to determine whether a school or a district is low-performing. As defined by General Statute 115C, 10537, low-performing schools are those that receive a school performance grade of D or F and a school accountability growth score of met expected growth or did not meet expected growth. To avoid a low-performing designation, schools must earn a school performance grade of C or better or exceed growth. For the 2024-25 school year, the OCS schools that have been designated as low-performing are A.L. Standback Middle School, Central Elementary School, and Eflin Cheeks Global Elementary School. Now for celebrations. First, we have three schools. We have three schools that are moving out of low-performing status. Congratulations to Grady Brown Elementary School, Gravelly Hill Middle School, and New Hope Elementary School for moving out of low-performing status. All three schools have moved from Ds to Cs. Congratulations to Principal Chris Marks, Tanisha Williamson, and Dr. Meredith Mayer. Next, we have three schools that had the highest EVOS growth index of all 13 schools. Cedar Ridge High School with an EVOS growth index of a 9.09. We have New Hope Elementary School with an EVOS growth index of 7.15. And Orange High School, which had an EVOS growth index of 2.93. Congratulations to Dr. Anna Hips, Dr. Meredith Mayer, and Jason Johnson. Schools moving from not meeting growth to meeting growth, Central Elementary, Orange High School, and Pathways Elementary School. I also want to point out that Orange High School moved from C status to B status. So again, we want to congratulate those principals, Candace Sauls, Jason Johnson, and Kristen Madison Williamson. And finally, within our celebrations, I also want to point out that Cedar Ridge High School and New Hope Elementary School are ranked in the top 100 out of 2,593 schools in the state of North Carolina. Cedar Ridge ranks 35th and New Hope ranks 78th. Additionally, both schools, like mine from last year, are ranked in the top 3% of the state, and again, out of 2,593 schools, and there's more. So this is actually not on the slide, but I want to also report this out, that Cedar Ridge has the third highest school growth index among all high schools, 912, in the Triangle, and 11th highest in all of North Carolina. And New Hope Elementary has the third highest school growth index among all elementary schools, pre-K, K-5 in the Triangle, and 9th highest in all of North Carolina. So again, congratulations to Dr. Hips and Dr. Meredith Mayer, because that is some very hard work. So at this time, I will take your questions.
Ms. Dole?
Thank you so much. I thought this was a super helpful presentation of both the background of how these all work as well as the specific details on schools. And so I'm sure other people have these questions. One specific question I have is if you could, so I'll just say mine both. First is like a definition. Can you explain to me the math course rigor in school growth? And then I'm also curious about fifth grade where proficiency dropped in reading, math, and science.
Okay, so can you repeat those questions for me one more time,
The
please?
first one, what does it mean? So I understand that the 20% school growth that has to do with EOC scores at the high school level. How are schools assessed for math course rigor? What does that phrase
So
mean?
remember, so let me make a quick correction. So the 20% only accounts for the growth.
Mhm.
So the 80% it would be where the math course rigor actually comes into play. And so again, that's the percentage of seniors, so grade 12 students who are taking and have passed the Math 3 course. So that's where that comes into play.
Okay.
What was your second question for me?
Okay. but
I
could-
apologize.
There's a trend with fifth grade. I know some grades tend to have, could be challenging grades, year after year for students. Why, what are we doing to look into the drop in proficiency at the fifth grade level across the district in reading, math, and science
So
proficiencies?
I would say to you that that is actually, again, as I pointed out, that's an area of growth for us, and that is definitely going to be a target area for us. I don't know that there would necessarily be, fifth grade is not necessarily a transition year, if that makes any sense.
Mhm.
So we're looking closely into the data to try to figure out what may have gone wrong, and again, where those areas of growth are. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to say, so not only are we focused on fifth grade, but then we're also focused on that cohort of students that are now in the sixth grade. So both of those grades at this point in time are now priorities for us, if you can think about it from that perspective. The other piece of it is too, things just that we are thinking about in terms of how to tackle that problem, vertical alignment conversations around math and ELA specifically, so that way, again, we can try to, pinpoint what those things were, go ahead and put some supportive measures in place, so that way we don't have a repeat of what that is, and that occurred from last year. So I hope I answered your question.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Ms. Hauser?
Yeah, I'd like to just take that a little deeper. Thank you. As a fifth, in general, when I've dug into the numbers, and I have the dashboard on my tablet, but that any number has wide disparities across schools. It has wide disparities across student subgroups, which in my hands is really dangerous, right? And so the question becomes, and I think forever, public schools have ignored those disparities and lived on the top-sided numbers. So what are we doing to dig under the covers? And as a board perspective, what schools need more help, need more resources? Are there structural, and I was looking at the Hispanic students in particular and the English language learners, and how that's affecting their numbers, the graduation. Parents have told me they're concerned about kids not engaging, especially secondary English language learners, and dropping out. So just curious what structural things are happening where, besides the teacher-student relationship, where do we have to really make investments? Which schools, which student groups, which program changes?
So I don't know that I necessarily want to call out a specific school, because I think ultimately the plan, it needs to be district-wide, because at the end of the day, and I'm going to answer the question and kind of focus on what you were asking in the very beginning in terms of fifth grade, perhaps some trends and things that need to be put in place. So one of the things that, we are of course, challenging principals to do, and we've done a lot of work already through our partnership with Solution Tree, is really the work that's happening in POCs. So the types of lessons that we're actually planning, and then more importantly, the focus that we're putting on data and actually tracking a student's progress and tracking our data. Because at the end of the day, no results at the very end of the year should be a surprise if we're doing and we're putting in the work and laying those foundations at the very beginning, and then putting those supportive measures in place for all of our students to ensure that not only are they showing proficiency on assessments, but they're also showing growth. So I feel like if we start there, and those are really, again, like the foundation that we're trying to lay in that path that we're trying to lay moving forward as we're going through, I think that will address some of the other concerns that you raised if we're doing that and we're doing that well in the very beginning.
Okay, I guess when I've looked at the numbers, and I haven't dug into those numbers yet, I'm hoping we'll hear more. Our kids are not all starting in the same place, and our schools are not all starting in the same place. And we have kids that are way, way behind, and how are we gonna, catch them up versus the kids that are?
And so you hit actually on a point that I had actually scratched out of my speaker notes, but I will actually address now. So we have to also understand, to your point, that if we have some students that come in a grade level or two behind, that's one of the reasons why we also need to focus on growth just as much as we have to focus on proficiency. Because at the end of the day, again, if we're truly tiering out the levels of supports that we're doing, and if we track our data and we are consistently progress monitoring, that's naturally going to lend itself for that to occur, then we're going to be able to hit students where they are, so that way, even if we may not be able to get them to grade level proficiency at the end of the year based upon how a student came to us for those areas of growth, but we can show significant growth and we can show significant gains. And that too will then also, help us achieve achieve our ultimate goal. So
I guess there's a question about, are there areas where we need to do a little bit more? And I think everybody knows I'm a little bit hung up on things like newcomer program for our secondary schools, and do we need to put the kids in a separate track so we can give them a little bit more? So I agree with everything you're saying, I understand everything you're saying, but I just wonder and these are not a question for tonight, but will we be looking at, do we need to make certain structural changes in programming for certain student populations?
And I'll just piggyback. One thing that Dr. Lanier is not mentioning, probably because it's second nature for the work that he's done prior, is that we're working to create a system where we're looking at individual students and their needs. When you do that, it's a lot of work. That changes the system and the structure for that individual student. And so if we see some red flags where there are some absences and the student is likely not to graduate, then we can intervene early. But we have to have a system so that that particular student does not fall into the cracks. Same with any fifth grader moving on to sixth grade. We see the disparity there. We see the progress going backwards. Now they're sixth graders. So now as sixth graders, we have to take a look and see where they are academically. Not all of them did poorly. Some of them are on grade level, some are above. And so at every single level, we're going to provide what they need, whether it's intervention, whether it's continued core instruction, or it's additional instruction at a more rigorous level. And so our practice is to look at individual students. And when you do that, they have to move. It's a lot of work and it's hard work. But however, using the data to guide that work, the planning that happens in the PLC process is where that structure happens. So there's no like magic movement that needs to happen or particular set of students that needs to go here now. We just have to, the adults, we have to dig into the data and make these plans for kids, collaborate with their families so that they understand where they are, make sure the students understand where their needs are and how they're going to support and help themselves and how we're here to help them. And then we'll see the progress being made. So because he does it, he forgot to include how we work with individual kids. But when you do that, everyone moves. And so I think we'll see some of that. It takes a little bit of time. And so those are the structures that we're putting in place this year.
Any other question? Mr. Atherton?
So not so much a question, but I just want to thank the staff and everybody that's worked on it to start really getting us the transparent data on where we are, what we're seeing, the trends, and having those discussions about how do we really focus on the concerns and issues and address them systematically versus, it just being raw numbers and us not understanding how the data translates. I guess I have one question. I was glad to see we did have an increase in our students with disability. Do we know if that is part of the project search work that's going on, or is there some other programs that are occurring that have helped facilitate that as well?
I don't think we've dug that deep.
Okay.
I wouldn't necessarily attribute it to the project search, but we can look into that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Ms. Padilla?
I just have a comment. I want to say thank you. It's a great presentation so far, and I like how it's broken down. It'd be great. I know that throughout the years, there's been different presentations done differently, and if we can do this again next year so we have consistency and it's sustainable. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have one more. There was some interesting innovation. You may not have the answer tonight, but things like what New Hope was doing with the community outreach, at Orange High School, the repacing of the math curriculum. Just curious if those programs contributed to some of these really outstanding results. You don't have to answer that tonight, but I'm just curious because they were like real innovations for us.
I'd like to thank everyone for this presentation, and I know it's a lot of work, but it's very meaningful to us, and it's very transparent, and it helps. I would also like to give a shout out to Tanisha Williamson at Gravelly Hill, because I've been in that school twice now since school started, and I have always believed that if a student knows where they are with their data, it helps. And as you walk down the hall of Gravelly Hill, you see posters that they have made showing the progress of various ways that test scores have risen. Students who, today I noticed one that said 5 students who have never passed a reading EOG passed it. And that, to me, lets the students know that we recognize what you're doing. We're going to celebrate what you're doing, just like we're celebrating teachers and principals in schools. The students need to feel celebrated too, and I applaud her for that, putting that there on the wall for the kids to see. And I think the data meetings that have been talked about so much in PLCs and so forth, those are so important for students to be able to sit down with their parents and explain what is going on in my classroom, in whatever class I'm in, And so I think the more that that is done, the better for our kids. And I applaud y'all for doing that. And thank you so much for this presentation. It's great. Anything else from you, Dr. Lanier?
I will gladly pass the mic to my colleague, Dr. Pack. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lanier, and good evening. It's my pleasure to be here tonight to revisit priority one of our strategic plan. We were just here a month ago to give you an update totally on the plan, and we're going to come back to you quarterly on each of our goals, each of our priorities. And so tonight we are bringing back priority one. Dr. Lanier did a great job of going over a lot of the data that ends up in priority one, but I just want to quickly review the plan and then some of our recommendations moving forward. So priority one, and again, remember we shifted the language so that there weren't two goals to talk about. So priority one is the teaching tomorrow's learners, with goal one being to increase the percentage of all OCS students demonstrating grade level proficiency. And these are the key action details that we went over. So I'm not going to rehash all that. I'll go through this fairly quickly. This slide shows the updated data track. Again, when we were here last month, we didn't have that last column. As you can see, it's all in red, which means we did not meet the 2023-24 benchmark goal set for us meeting. But I do want you to carefully look across the line and see that each one of those are an increase from the previous year. So while we haven't quite met our benchmark, we are moving in the right direction. Again, at our last talk about the strategic plan, we laid out some priorities that are the work that's going to go into continuing to move that work forward. These are the same priorities that we went over. There are two bolded ones, so you'll notice those are added when we got the data back. And we have already talked about, Dr. Lanier talked about the focus on 5th and 6th grade math performance and high school math 1. We also have focused some of the work or the structural stuff that we're putting into place is that all of our middle schools have a common schedule, which allows for not just PLCs at their school level, but across the district. Okay. So all of our 8th graders can talk together. And the power, I think you guys know this, but maybe our community doesn't know that, but the power of a professional learning community is to expand the collective efficacy of all the instructors in the building. So we take strong teachers, we pair them with teachers who are learning and grow everyone together. And so now we're spreading that collective efficacy across the school across the district. Priority one, goal 2, again, is to increase the percentage of schools meeting or exceeding growth. These are the key action details that were laid out in the plan. And here's the updated data. And we are excited that we have green in this column. We have actually exceeded our goal for 23-24 of the percentage of schools meeting or exceeding growth. So we're very excited about that. And again, the 24-25 priorities, we haven't added any, but these will be our focus this year. And then finally, goal 3 is to increase the graduation rate to 92% by 2026. Again, the key action details that were in the plan previously and our current data updated. And we did not meet our 23-24 goal. So, and then we have the priorities for goal 3, which again, we went over last month and they have not changed. So we have some recommendations about how we might amend the current strategic plan to meet our goals, our priority 1, First, we'd like to clear the language up in our sub-goals under priority 1 to have specific and measurable outcomes. So for goal 1, currently reads, increase the percentage of all OCS students demonstrating grade level proficiency. We'd like to propose that we change the language to, by 2026, at least 65% of OCS students will achieve grade level proficiency. Again, this is specific and measurable. Goal 2 says increase the percentage of schools meeting or exceeding growth. And we would like to suggest the language say, by 2026, at least 90% of schools will meet or exceed growth as measured by the state model. And for goal 3, it already is specific and measurable, but we'd like to align it with the language of the other goals to say by 2026, the OCS 4-year cohort graduation rate will be at least 92%. Like the language shift from 2 goals to a priority and goal, we'd like to suggest another language shift from key details, key action details, to strategies. And we would like to shift those strategies again to specific and clear and simple, measurable strategies that we can say, yes, we did, yes, we didn't. So we can answer some of the questions that you're having about, did this contribute to that? And or, you know, what are we doing that really actually works? So we're taking the language and simplifying it and really laying out the actions. So under goal 1, the proposed strategies are those strategies that we, again, have already gone over with you. But they include continual progress monitoring, common formative assessments, all these things that we've been talking about. And again, added in here the concentration on the grades 5 and 6 with that transition year and a high school math 1, as well as those common planning times in middle and high school. For goal 2, the strategies, again, are those priorities that we went over that include monitoring our implementation of letters, the district benchmarks and common assessments, and the PLC planning process, and that student level goal setting that Dr. Jones was just talking about. And then under goal 3, the strategies are again listed that were our 24-25 priorities previously. So with that, I am going to pause or end and ask for questions, and also ask that you accept these recommendations for an updates to the strategic plan.
Questions, anyone? Mr. Atherton?
So I have one question. I know the 65% proficiency number, I know it's looking at our current data. How do we delineate cohorts of where they are versus kids that are just coming out of 3rd grade, right? My question is, we shouldn't be targeting that at such a small number, right? We're hoping that, you know, all the changes we're making, the structure we're putting in place, the data gathering, and the, you know, support of the MTSS, the PLCs early on is going to have us at a higher trajectory at the beginning. And this number just seems to be across everything. And I wonder how we can set a goal that we're going to, you know, focus as well as on starting there and not trying to get everybody to finish there. Does that make sense of trying to start earlier and get it at a stable proficiency point?
It does. So currently, overall, I think we're at 55%. And so this is our 2-year goal because our current strategic plan sunsets in 2026. And so, you know, when you construct SMART goals, you need to be realistic as well. So we wanted to take a look at that. So this is the overall, but yes, you're absolutely right. Once this is approved, then we're going to look at every single, we set goals by school, by grade level, by subject, by teacher, by student. And so there are lots of layers to this goal setting and support that goes in. And so that is absolutely going to happen. And so, for example, I might have teacher A, her specific goal for her first core class in a middle school, maybe 85% based on the students that are there. And another teacher's goal may be 42% based on the students that are there and the level of push that we need to leave. So no, overall, we want to be at 65 in 2 years, but when we start peeling those layers off, there's going to be a variety of goals that are out there. And those are the ones that we're going to monitor to get to the 65 as a district.
And just a reminder, the 65 is a composite score.
Right.
So it's hard, as you go and composite these scores together, it takes a whole lot more to move just even a little point than at the individual student level. So that's where the big goals are set, and we're working towards that, and that brings it up. So I know that wasn't very clear, but
No, I just.
helping to understand that that's the composite goal.
Absolutely. I just wanted to set the expectation is at the lower grades, as we see those coming over the years, as new cohorts come out, we should expect those to be higher just by this process versus, if somebody, in our district here, 65, well, why is that? That doesn't seem like the best goal, but like you said, smart of where we are, where our cohorts are, where our subgroups are, and trying to get them the proficiency and the ability, at the same time setting the expectation as newer students are coming in and we're giving them the support from the beginning. The goal isn't third grade's going to be at 65. They're going to be higher because they've gotten that support from the beginning. Thank you.
And I apologize, but this is a shift in the prior structures. We had metrics and goals set by subgroup. And you're not doing that, at least you're not sharing those with us.
Well, we need the overall first, and then we need to do the work to go in and collaborate with specific departments because they have to work to set the goals as well. So we wanted to get the go-ahead to do this so that we can begin the work with each department. And so anyone that works with our ML students, our multi-language students, they're going to have a goal, whether they're at central office or at the school level. So they're going to have to, but we have to get this first, and then we work together to set those goals.
So can I paraphrase something that I'm hearing in what you're saying? We have a 65% proficiency target, but technically, ideally, 100% of our students will grow. You're really trying to grow every student.
Our job is to grow every single student. They should meet or exceed, which means every school should meet or exceed. We prefer they exceed, but the state says you've done your job when you meet growth, and that means that each student has grown 1 year. But yes, and again, just to reiterate what Dr. Pack said, the overall, that 65 is very hard to move. Like if you start looking across the span of time for the overall composite, it will move. I think we increase plus 2.5 points. Even with some of the green that you see, or the blue, whatever color they use to show the positives, that was a 2.5 move for the overall. So it's going to take a lot for us to jump 10 points in 2 years, to be honest. However, with the work that we're putting in place, it's not impossible. So that 65, we don't expect teachers to internalize that and say, oh, all I have to do is get to 65. No, teacher A, we need you to get to 85, you see, because these are the students coming to you already proficient, and these are the ones that I want you to push and grow.
I have to say that when I looked at the top-sided numbers, this is the first year since I've been on the board that we have exceeded the state averages on almost every category of student. So yes, I hear you on just a couple points shift, but was enough of a shift to move us ahead of the pack. So that's another way to look at it. So it's a big move, very impressive stuff. I mean, there's no question. I just needed something to hold on to. And by the way, I'm thrilled to hear about the PLCs across middle schools, because that's just fantastic. Thank you for that.
Okay, any other further questions? All right, we need to vote on this, and do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. All right, this is approved. Thank you so much for your work, and carry on. Okay, summer programs. Ms. Wilson? Ms. Braxton?
I have to aggressively push this thing, apparently. Good evening, board, Dr. Jones, community that are still here with us. Thank you for the opportunity for us to be here tonight to talk a little bit about all of the different opportunities that were offered to our students here in Orange County Schools this past summer. Here on the screen, you can see many of the opportunities that we offered our students. There were camps that were held for students kindergarten through 3rd grade, 6th through 8th grade, as well as 9th through 12th grade. Some of our offerings were based on academics and credit recovery, while others focused on exploration and internships. And now we're going to zoom in a little bit more and talk about some of the specifics of the various camps that were offered. So here on this slide, you can see the reading camp participation data. As you know, Read to Achieve Camp is legislatively mandated for 2nd and 3rd grade students who are demonstrating difficulty with reading. Here in Orange County Schools, we have chosen to expand that offering to include our kindergarten and our 1st grade students, as well to ensure that we're supporting early and sustained intervention. Additionally, OCS determines our eligibility for participation based on our middle of the year data rather than end of the year, which is what is required in legislation. We believe that that middle of the year data gives our families more opportunity to plan for the summer and helps us also be better prepared for our programming that we offer. Students who demonstrate proficiency at the end of the year are not taken away from reading camp. So we often have students who attend camp that are technically no longer eligible, and they will not be represented in some of the assessment data as they're no longer eligible to take those assessments during the summer administration. This year, we had 854 students who were invited to participate kindergarten through 3rd grade based on their middle of the year data back in February. We had 477 families that told us that they would like for their student to participate, and we began to plan for them to show up. We had 390 students actually show up to attend camp for at least one day, which is about 82%, and that is an increase from previous years. You can also see here the percentage of students who attended by grade level, as well during the 3-week time period. So here on this slide, you can see that we had 44 students who attended camp at Hillsborough Elementary School. The camp at Hillsborough serves only the students at Hillsborough as they are on a different school calendar. At Grady Brown, we had 173 students that came from Grady Brown, New Hope, and Central Elementary School. And the camp at River Park had 173 students who attended that came from River Park, Pathways, and Eflin Cheeks Global Elementary. During camp, we leveraged explicit and direct small group instruction and worked diligently to utilize hands-on learning experiences for our students. Teachers were able to leverage some new resources as well, like UFly from the University of Florida Literacy Institute and letter tile boards to support explicit phonics instruction. Those teachers are now back in their classrooms being leaders in their building on how to leverage those tools and working with colleagues around using them in core instruction or as intervention during our school year. The only students who took the Read to Achieve assessment that are represented in these numbers are the 3rd graders that did not demonstrate proficiency during end of the year assessments or have a good cause exemption, and the parent opted for them to participate in the summer administration. While many of our third graders don't opt to have their students participate in the retesting during the summer, of those who tested, 17% demonstrated proficiency. We are also happy to celebrate that after 3 weeks of intensive instruction, we had 35% of our kindergarten through third grade students demonstrate growth according to their DIBELS composite score, and 19% of our kindergarten through third grade students demonstrate proficiency, who now are back in school with a better grasp of the foundational reading skills that they need to be successful and confident in the literacy classroom. Unfortunately, Dr. Gammon is not here with us tonight, so I'm going to continue and share a little bit about the middle school STEAM camp that happened this summer. So Orange County Schools received grant funding from Boroughs Welcome to support the summer STEAM programming. STEAM is an acronym representing science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And this grant was a perfect opportunity to provide a summer learning option for middle school students here in Orange County Schools. The goal was to recruit students from populations that are typically underrepresented in the STEAM fields out in careers, and offer these students a 2-week-long summer camp using interdisciplinary problem-based learning, or PBL, activities. A multi-tiered rubric was used to select students that would participate in the program. 250 students were identified with the goal of filling the 120 spaces that were available through the grant. Of the 120 students that accepted the invitations, 116 of those students attended camp at least one day. We had an average of 83 students who were there for the entirety of the camp, and 94 of those students who utilized transportation services. Through a co-teaching collaboration between the career and technical education and math and science teachers, students in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade were afforded the opportunity to explore various job-related fields. The camp was held at Gravelly Hill Middle School, although it served students from all 3 middle schools. The students participated in 5 hours of instructional time and an additional hour for lunch and recess. Transportation, breakfast, and lunch were provided, and 15 of our fantastic OCS teachers that came from multiple schools at the elementary, middle school, and high school level worked to create highly engaging learning experiences utilizing a variety of hands-on and digital resources for these students. We would like to give a special shout out to Michelle Fournier, the AP at Orange Middle School, who served as the administrative lead for the camp, and our district curriculum and instruction team, who did a tremendous job of organizing camp materials and the day-to-day operations. Additionally, our support staff and our family liaisons who worked diligently to reach out directly to families to ensure that we promoted this opportunity and met our goal of student participation. The camp culminated with a showcase, and we were happy that many of you were able to go and attend and participate. Thank you for your support. We were also delighted to welcome families and OCS staff to view the final products and hear firsthand from our students and our teachers about the value of this experience. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Shannon Braxton, the Director of CTE and the Arts, to share more about the summer programming in CTE.
Good evening again. Oh, I need to change. Hold on. So I am excited to stand before you tonight and tell you about all the great things that CTE did this summer. And on this screen are programs that were made possible from federal ESSER funds that were specific for summer career exploration activities. This summer, we repeated the same programs that we've offered in the past, which are our Project Lead the Way Engineering Academy camps. They were hosted at Orange High School in June. We had our Startup High camp, which is a middle school entrepreneurial camp that started each day at Gravelly Hill Middle and then traveled to downtown Hillsborough, where the students visited local businesses And a highlight was that they also had lunch in local restaurants. And our in-district CTE student interns. And boom, there they are. And you have a copy of this flyer at your spot, because I want you to take a look at these 15 faces. Check out those smiles. These smiles and the opportunity for CTE interns are only possible with the partnerships of our internal department that were willing to host a CTE student. I'm personally grateful to those staff members that took a student intern to allow them to learn on the job. Just a couple of examples, the communications department had Laura at many events over the summer. In fact, you may have seen her in action this summer. The bus garage, they hosted 2 interns, as they have done for the last 2 summers. Both of these students, though, were really dedicated to their work. They even returned to the bus garage after their official internship was over, because the bus garage was doing some specific jobs that was in time for those buses, and those students wanted to learn about it. That just shows their commitment to learning those skills. The maintenance department, again, had a great experience with student interns, and they went above and beyond, hosting 3 student interns this summer, and their interns were really interested in the skilled trades. It would not surprise me if you saw some of these students' name on an upcoming personnel report in years to come, and I'll just remind you that that is the purpose of this program, was really to grow our own. And then our Summer Career Academy Building Our Future program, which I'll remind you is a focus on construction trades. This is in partnership with the Chapel Hill-Carborough City School System and the Home Builders Association of Durham, Orange, and Chatham. This program is provided with braided funding. That was, again, a huge success. This year, we graduated 23 students. And want to make sure you see their beautiful faces. They're on the back side, so make sure you flip over and see their beautiful faces. 17 of those 23 are Orange County Schools students. We want to make sure we thank Cedar Ridge High School again for allowing us to host this program on their site, and our own CTE Cedar Ridge woodworking teacher, Avery Pipkin, for leading that class instruction. You know, our internal Grow Our Own and these Summer Career Academy interns would not be possible without our 2 career development coordinators, Nick Montgomery and Stephanie Smith. They are truly the boots on the ground, working day in and day out with these students, making sure that they have success. The CTE department was really busy this summer, and we have many successes to celebrate, each student at a time. And we are very excited to share these reports with you tonight. And at this time, I'm going to turn it back over to Ms. Amber Wilson, the Executive Director of Elementary Education, for our next steps.
Thank you. So as part of our ongoing program evaluation, we will continue to utilize data to determine the impacts as well as the next steps of our summer programming. We are looking into some partnerships and opportunities that will include arts and STEM programming at our summer offerings for elementary students. We actually just had a meeting last week with the Arts Center and are super excited about all of the things that we already have in the works for the programming for the summer of 2025. We are also working to get on an earlier cycle for planning and want to continue to be mindful of the planning for our families and when other summer opportunities are putting out their communication to families so that we are competitive to get our students enrolled, and hopefully they will choose to spend their summer with us. As we plan for next year, we have to be mindful that our federal funds have also expired. And our grant funds that we use this year for the middle school STEAM camp have already been exhausted. We will only be able to continue to offer summer programs based on state and federal funding. We anticipate to receive state funding specifically set aside for required 2nd and 3rd grade students for Read to Achieve Summer Reading Camp. but we may not be able to continue to expand to lower grades as we have done in the past few summers. At this time, I'm happy to take any questions as well as comments from the board.
Ms. Hauser?
Yeah, thank you for this. It's great work, both of you, all of you. The only thing that just, you could tell me I shouldn't worry about it, but what bothered me a little bit was the participation in Read to Achieve. And if we can, I know you did work to get earlier enrollment. I wondered if the locations, the central locations were a problem, and if we need to have them out at Eflin and New Hope, if that would make a difference. Just curious why we're not getting more participation. It feels so important.
Yeah, I think those are great questions. We did not receive necessarily feedback from families that stay locations problem. We were providing transportation to students from anywhere that they lived, and even made concessions for students that needed to go to a different camp based on like a parent's summer employment if they work within the district and things like that. So we were able to accommodate by having 2 comprehensive locations. We also do have to work collaboratively with our maintenance department. As you know, the summertime is when many of our maintenance projects occur. And so we have to ensure that we're putting our students in a place that's conducive for learning, and also allowing space for our schools to have the renovations that are required.
So any thoughts on, should we be concerned about the enrollment, or might there be opportunities to increase the participation?
I think we always have opportunities to improve in our communication and our recruitment for our families, and we continue to reflect on that and continue to think about ways to improve those practices.
Thank you.
Ms. Dole?
Thank you so much for this presentation, and I'm just really excited about the CTE summer interns, and how we've also grown the Career Accelerator. Just to give a shout out on how important it is that students are finding like their way, their path, their opportunities. I know that the CTE summer interns overlaps a little bit because it has the summer scholars CTE interns. It kind of overlaps a little bit with our, the concept of growing our own kind of future educators. So we've spotlighted that recently, but noticing that we have 17 of the 23 spots in Summer Careers Academy were Orange County Schools students. I was really excited about that because the first year we only had a few. And I just think these are fantastic routes to help kids find their path. So thank you.
I 100% agree with you, as does, I think, the majority of the people.
Exactly.
In this room, right? Giving students opportunities to explore before they're out making a living. Oh, sorry.
Any other questions? Mr. Atherton?
So, as you could guess, I'm so excited to see all the students' participation and know it's grown from just a few in the offices to so many. And, I just want to emphasize us looking at ways with the county, because one year we had, interns at the county, and they've offered for us to continue that. And I hope, we can still find ways to do that. And I know that the boots on the ground in both high schools, them engaging and understanding the interest level, and our staff willing to take, young adults and giving them the opportunity to learn this and also see their interest. I think one of the key elements of this, and we haven't had the opportunity to dive deep in this, is getting more CTE in middle school. The options are very limited, and if we can get students engaged earlier and them understand and get their interest piqued and get those opportunities out, I think we're going to see more interest and more students and parents engaging and getting the opportunity, because once you get to high school, 4 years, very limited, options. But in middle school, you have more of those elective opportunities to explore that. So looking forward to seeing what we can do in that area and expanding that. On the 2 other items One, for the Read to Achieve, I wonder if there's the opportunity to actually survey the parents to get that data and just try to understand, is it transportation? Is it location? Is it your family plans? Because there's things we can address and things we cannot. And I think us understanding that, because that only helps to get us to our goals of, the engagement and academic achievement. And I think asking the parents, and when I say survey, I don't necessarily mean sending them a link, but maybe calling them or having our family liaisons assist us in what's the best method to get that information. And one other comment is on the summer camps, it's all of these always have the option of local funding, especially if it's the right investment and the superintendent feels that this does give us a good return on investment. I think we should always, have that as an option for asking county commissioners to assist to fund those. And on the summer camps, I would really like to see us have some focus on our EC students and what are the opportunities we can provide them versus them having to look outside of our district or even outside of the state, and what we can do to have them engaged in the STEM camps or any of the existing camps and the support around that to ensure that we are meeting all of our students' needs and getting them engaged in CTE, of course, as I mentioned earlier, and one of our very successful programs. So, and thank you all. This is wonderful news to see and hear.
Any other questions? Ms. Padilla?
I just have a comment, thank you. And I think this program is great, the CTE program. It allows other students to see that other students are also looking for other options and they don't feel like maybe I should pursue a career. So it allows them to meet others. So thank you.
I will just add, thank you both for all of this. It was a great summer, and I enjoyed attending the graduation for the CTE students with my granddaughter, and coming and seeing the STEM program at Gravely. That was phenomenal. So, thank you both for all you do. Thank you. All right, Mr. Smith.
I am very excited that we know you all have a long night. It's been a very full agenda, and we do not want to keep you here much longer. But we know that the website has been very long awaited. And so we're excited to bring you a few minutes presentation on some of the things that led to and definitely where this website is leading to in the future. And I have with me, of course, Jayla Davis, who is an incredibly able communications specialist. We're really excited for her to come and talk to you for a few minutes about some of the work that it took and what has inspired us and the vision for where this website is going to take us in the future. So not long after Dr. Jones came on board, she said, so we're going to have a new website, right? And as we got closer to the summer, she was like, you had said we were going to have a new website, Mr. Smith. And so you all remember that near the end of the last fiscal year, we brought you a contract renewal to work with Final Site. The earlier website had served us very, very well, getting us through COVID, but in many respects, it had come to look like a document container. We had what looked like Google documents for home pages, and we had long file libraries and link libraries, and it was definitely time to move on. And so, as fortune would have it, our web template was also being sunset. The vendor that we worked with had been acquired by another. Final Site is the name of the company that we work with. And so we were fortunate enough to find a good avenue to renew with them. And as many folks on our staff have heard and school leaders have heard, the website and our mass notification platform going together will be something that we bring to you over the course of the next few months. But we have currently implemented the website portion of that. One of the things that took us to this point and why we weren't able to present on this maybe a month ago is the Infinite Campus transition. Instead of dwelling on that, we know that you're going to hear about campus over the coming weeks, and schools have been doing a lot to get ready for it. But one of the biggest things that it did was reshape the way we think about all of the students, staff, and families in our database. And it's been a huge transition, but it really opened up some doors for us in terms of the website and what we call constituents, who are the people that we manage. You all, for instance, are constituents, and we'll show you how that works over the course of this evening. So we knew that we had an opportunity. You're looking right now at a mock-up of the mobile website from the old platform, and we'll just take you on a very quick visual tour. This is, go ahead and wave goodbye. This is the outgoing web template. As you can see, there were a menu bar at the top, another ribbon of icons above the photo gallery, a lot of quick links off to the side. There's a lot of activity, a lot of ways at getting in information, but also very text heavy. The new website is not that. The new website is going to help us focus more and more attention on the people who make things happen every day in our schools. Students smiling, teachers hard at work, community activity and engagement. We're going to try to make sure that these are the things that you see up front when you're looking at the website. So how did that work? We made sure that, for instance, Jayla Davis and Laura Llanos, whom you just heard referred to a moment ago, you saw her picture on the slide from the interns. Jayla and Laura probably took well north of 1,000 photos, probably even more. And I'll get her to explain what the inspiration was, what they were looking for, because I'm very excited. I'm a systems thinker, and Jayla has spent loving attention on virtually every page. And for those of you who have edited web pages before, sometimes they have as many as 100, 200 or more different ways of getting information. So if you've been there, you know kind of what I'm talking about. And just getting one page right can be a true labor of love. And we have several hundred pages now under the umbrella of Orange County Schools and all of our school sites. So I'd like to remind you by looking at this in the kind of the what's changing on the right-hand side, focusing on our people, pulling out outdated content, elevating the voices of our students and staff. We knew that staff directories were a very major request, and waiting for constituent data to come through in Infinite Campus was a very important development for us. We want you all to start looking for posts. Usually we think of that as a social media term. Well, these websites are designed to engage with posts. We're going to have information coming, generic information about the school or a program, as well as timely event information, and then elevating the personalities, what we might call heroes of our schools and our school community. And then finally, making sure that it's totally accessible. You could tell that very streamlined set of menus is something that we're going to get into, and the architecture of that has been a real focus of ours this summer. I have to plant a seed now for something we'll be talking about later. Ryan Miller and Aaron Bradley are going to bring this to you over the course of the next couple of years, as will we. ADA accessibility is something very important, and a clock has been ticking right over our heads. Every government entity is working towards some deadlines coming up in the next year to two about making sure that every last piece of information on the site is accessible. Every image, every link, every resource. And fortunately for us, the contract that we signed with Finalsite provides an awful lot of support. We have built-in platform support so that nothing can go onto the site now that is not immediately accessible, which provides a huge amount of protection to us, something we know is welcome news to everyone who helps run the programs. So this is what the new website looks like. There's no sound. And as we get into the videos and photos, I'm going to ask Jayla to give you some insight into the architecture and the experience that we want people to have, and what kinds of things she's been doing with training as we've been getting to know our 13 schools and helping them implement the websites as well.
All right, good evening. I first want to give a shout out to our summer intern, Laura Llanos. She was an amazing partner to me over the summer. If you go look at any of our 13 websites, well, 14 websites, most of her work is in those galleries, the videos, the pictures. She was amazing over the summer. We have worked tirelessly over the summer and well into the school year to get this website up and running to make it as beautiful as possible. We did a lot of research over the summer with some local school districts, national school districts, and even globally, which is where a lot of the inspiration came from. As Kevin said, I'm very design focused, so I've looked at probably hundreds of websites at this point to get inspiration to make sure that we are the best and that people come to us and that we look really good. He played the video, I'll play it again. We are really focused on making this website user-friendly and accessible to everybody. And part of that is to make sure that we get these great high-quality videos and images that really show Orange County in a great light every single school.
If we go down here, there we go. Now you can just tap. There we go.
One of the ways that we wanted to make this accessible is to have really simple menus. This looks very different here than what it looks like right now. We have moved the Board of Education page under our district, but we have these simple menus here that allow you to get to the information as quick as possible. That's for students, parents, staff, and everyone involved. This is just another look at our menus. We are constantly updating. I am in my office clicking buttons all day long, trying to make sure that this website is as nice and neat, as accessible as possible. We have started our webmaster trainings for DLCs and anyone else that wants to get their hands into final sites to make sure that our schools can be updated as much as possible.
How do we know what people are looking for?
So we have looked at analytics. I stumbled across this last week. People are really looking for all the things that are here in these icons. The top is the district level, and then every single school has district links at this point. But as we continue to get analytics, we will update these and customize it to the schools. Right now, our top searches are lunch menus, driver's education, and the staff directories, which we really put a lot of hard work into. And here we have our post. Like I said, we want to make sure that Orange County schools, we look as best as possible, and we are definitely changing the way that we used to use Blackboard and how we're going into final site. So these are the posts that Kevin was talking about. If you go on our website, if you click on each and every single one of these, there's great information here. Right now, most of our schools, since it is the beginning of the school year, is district oriented, but as we continue to go into the school year, we'll get more focus on each school and the good news going on there. So we are constantly looking for good news every day so we can make sure that we look great. We have another section. There's news all over the homepage, so you can't miss it. We do have a great feature. It's our hero space. If there's anything going on in the community, we have our FCCLA students here. Anybody that's a hero in the school, in the district, or community, we have the opportunity to spotlight them and make sure everyone knows that we're great. And another piece of news at the bottom. Just another way for everybody to see what's going on in our schools. And we have a great calendar. Shout out to Franklin for all that he's done with our calendars. We are still, like I said, constantly changing and updating our website. But I think we're at a pretty good place right now. At the bottom, we have all this information that is district-wide. It is for every single school. Everything that staff needs, student, community, everyone, it is all right here, including our website edit request form. If you ever go on the website and there's something that's not working, please send a submission through that form and we will get to you as soon as possible. Do you want to talk about the directories? Okay.
So thank you, Jayla. And we've already received several dozen requests, so we know the form is working. And please tell friends. It's at the top of the website and at the bottom. It's both in the header and in the footer. And we've received them from staff, from members of the general public. We want feedback because the more we learn from people who are trying to use the website and they run into things they like or don't like, that's how we can fix things. And the staff directory was one of those areas. We required a lot of assistance from the folks at Final Site as we migrated data, and Ryan Miller and Aaron Bradley put in massive amounts of effort, nights and weekends, to help make sure that our constituent data was ready as early as possible, which again is going to help us move towards the messages XR part of tonight's presentation, which is coming in about a month, which will be really moving our mass notification experience forward rapidly. We've been using what's called Campus Messenger up until now, but the good news is that as we get more and more clarity on how everyone is situated in the database, we now have a very good standardized district staff directory. So if this is one of the things that was brought to us over and over and over again. Instead of having to manage it manually, every time that data is corrected and updated with new information in Infinite Campus, it's going to feed overnight into our staff directory. And so huge hats off to our technology team and to our partners at Final Site for helping us get through that process. Have to shout out, this is what a staff directory looks like when you drill down, and this is the communications team. We're excited to have Gloria working for us at the Welcome Center, and she's provided a lot of information, auditing 13 websites plus the district site to make sure that we could capture every change that schools were making each night, and transferring that into the new pages coming out the next day at the district website has been a true, as I said, labor of love. And I really want to shout out to Jayla as well as Laura and Gloria and thank them and all of our webmasters, because they continued to make things fresh, and we've tried to reflect that and honor that as we got the website ready for the school year. And with that, we'll take any questions that you've got on the new website.
Mr. Atherton?
So fantastic work. It looks really good. And I really like y'all kept the site map so people could go down and then just see everything and be able to access it. One area that I was curious to hear on is staff. Like, I noticed that there's a career and you click on that, it shows the job listing, but I thought before, like, there was a staff and here's the staff handbook and all of those kind of internal to our teachers and, staff related. Is that going to appear somewhere, or how is that done now?
Bigger picture, we're going to take a 10,000-foot view. You saw that there's a staff intranet link in the footer of every page on the website. A great deal of information that you may have seen on our public-facing website is actually staff-level data, and is not the kind of thing that necessarily needs to be in a public-facing site. In another world, we might actually use a password login so that people can use single sign-on, access the website, and have staff-specific information that only they see, so that if you're a family member or a member of the general public, no matter what you try to do, you don't see those pages. As you know, from anyone doing communications or organizing that information internally, that a lot of that is not something we needed everybody to see. So a lot of it's currently living in the intranet, or it's living on Google sites, which are accessible only to staff in their world. So we do have an entire ecosystem that's being organized by Jeff Kuik, Connie Bremer-Kaltz, and that whole team. And what you didn't see, what we haven't talked about, is dozens, if not at this point, probably 100 or more hours of work on human resources pages. We'll talk about C&I later when that comes up. There's a massive amount of work that goes on that people don't see. It's very elves and shoemaker kind of stuff. And with regard to the staff handbook and onboarding and things like that, there is a great deal of information there. We can bring that up in a separate presentation, but it's not going to show up on the public-facing website, which is a positive development. That's distracting for a lot of families and the general public, but it's really important for staff where they need it.
Okay, that makes sense. Like I said, I was just curious because I know, like you said, it was there before, and it does make sense to make sure you're not disclosing other stuff, and then they have their own all information, separate sites. So thank you for clarifying that.
It's been very intentional, and we really appreciate the collaboration with human resources and C&I teams.
Excellent. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
I have.
Ms. Hauser?
Yeah, first of all, thank you. I'm getting a lot of compliments on this, and my friends are ruthless. So it's really nice to get that. And I have to, by the way, Ms. Davis, your photographs from Cedar Ridge graduation were fantastic. I just looked as you were talking, we've actually done the school websites too, everything, because I thought it was just the district. Like, Wow. And so it's all integrated, it all looks same look and feel. And when you talk about Kevin, you spoke about the district staff directory. Are the school staff directories updated also?
The school staff directories targeted by location are all accurate. We're still working on oranges because currently the NCVPS, virtual public school for folks listening at home, those staff are currently showing up. Again, we are learning a lot. The state is learning a lot. We've suppressed a lot of that kind of knowledge. The state is learning an immense amount. We are part of the pilot phase 1 for the North Carolina Student Information System powered by Infinite Campus. It's a big deal. And on top of that, climbing right on the back of that, we decided to go ahead and let's roll it all in, right? So the website and constituent manager came along with that. Huge shout out to the folks at Final Site. Huge shout out, double that to Ryan and Aaron and to Nicole Reyes and to that whole Joy. The whole team that works with student data and staff data has been incredible in terms of the lift to get us ready for this kind of thing. It's highly improbable. We should not have been able to do this, but we're proud that we did.
I had no idea. It was fantastic. It's really amazing.
Our schools do, and so to your point about consistency, I'll take my hat off to Dr. Jones because it's with her support we're able to do this. When she says, I want the schools' sites to look consistent, like we're one district and we have one approach, when we go and train schools and say that we're all doing this together, I think there's going to be a real embrace of that. And it does mean that instead of seeing, for instance, a lot of graphics, I touched on accessibility, and let me just say, like, if we were to take our old approach and throw big graphics up in the gallery, the kinds of thing that you would see, like, get your yearbook, get this, get that, we start running into serious issues with ADA. Those images are typically not accessible by screen readers. They typically don't have the right information. We begin running afoul of federal regulations, and that's not going to work. So what we're doing is encouraging schools to either help us find the subjects and take photos, or take photos yourself, and then we'll connect. As you can see on our homepage, we have a beautiful picture or a video, but that's the entree to the information about our testing results or about other things that we want you to see on the website.
Okay, very good. Y'all put a lot of work into this, and it's greatly appreciated.
The schools are going to be doing a lot of the work going forward, and we want to thank them in advance for what they're about to do.
And all of this was very much needed. So this hadn't been done in, I don't know, whenever, years.
We're happy to do it. Thank you for the support.
Thank you all for your hard work. All right. Okay, we are coming to the end of our meeting. We do need to go back into closed session. So do I have a motion to?
Moved.
All in
As
favor?
previously stated.
And so we're coming back to.
Yeah, we have to.
We have to come back.
We're going back into closed session, and then we will wind up there. So this meeting is officially ended. Thank you all for
Madam
sticking
Chair,
with us. And
Just for clarity, the meeting isn't actually officially ended until we come back
Back to
after
in here.
closed session,
I
but there
know.
will be no further business other than adjourning the meeting.
I wanted our people to know that they could go home.